want to tell you a joke that you all know, but I'm going to say it again because that's the introduction to today's discussion about discussion. There is a Jewish man who was stranded on the desert island, and as he was saved, they told him, "How did you manage?" He said, "Look, I did the best I could. I did everything that I could. And I built myself something, kind of a hut, and I even built myself a synagogue and another synagogue." And so they said to him, "You're only one person on this island. What do you need the two synagogues for?" He said, "Well, there is the one that I go to and the one that I'm against, and I don't go to it." So this is something that has been very, very common, that there is always discussion about things. There's always argument about things. People have different opinion. People don't agree. There is this camp, there is that camp. There is this idea of having an argument, people having an argument, and it becomes very easy even with one person to have an argument. And in fact, most of the time, you think a person is by themselves. Come in, thank you. They don't have any argument because they're on their own. But if you think about it, most of the time, the arguments that we have the most are with ourselves. So just because we're on our own doesn't mean there's no argument. The protagonist of our story, his name is Korach. The Jews are in the desert. They've been there for a long time. And there's things that happened before. There's this story with Miriam. She said something about her brother, Moses. And there were also spies that were sent to the land that came back with a bad report. And he comes after that, not having learned the lessons of not saying bad things. He comes and starts a big discussion and a big argument. And not only he started this discussion, and he took himself by the hand, and he had all these things in his head, and he wanted to argue for it. He also convinced 250 judges from the tribe of Reuben, that were the firstborn, and they were very, very educated people, very learned. And these are the people that followed him. He's not the riffraff type of person. He's getting to la crème de la crème. He's getting to the top people. In any case, he is a good politician. He gathered his crown around his theories. And his theory was, why we're not equal. What is this business of having one family where the king is Moses, the brother of the king, Aaron, is the high priest, and everybody in the family is taking all the position? What about me? What about us? And actually, he never said that. He never said, what about me? He said, come on, everybody's holy, everybody's the same. Let's have a democracy here. Let's be equal. Let's have equality and equity. So in any case, he started this dispute. And by the way, he was a billionaire. I don't say millionaire because it's that already outdated. So we're going to go a little bit what happened with him. But before what happened with him, I want to see this idea of always having this disagreement with someone. My mother had a friend who was a very nice lady, very nice. She was plumpy, round, sweet lady. And the best compliment she could give, when she wanted to really give a good compliment about that person, she would say, he's not contrarian. I don't know exactly how you say that in English. Non-contrarian. And that was the best compliment she could say about someone, because in her mind, if you were like that, you can be in peace, you can get along. And she was okay with everyone. She wanted everyone to be okay with her too. My son calls me, and mind you, he lives in a different country. He tells me his countertop is going to be a certain way. And I thought to myself, what do I care what his countertop is looking like? Because it's his kitchen and his wife's kitchen. And I thought to myself, as he's talking to me, fine, everything will be fine. Like, yeah, sure, it's going to be great. I had made up my mind that I really don't care what kind of countertop he's getting. And then he sent me a picture of the countertop, at least a sample. And right away I said, I disagree. And it was absolutely crazy because I had made up my mind that it's okay with me. And then a minute later, I disagree. So what is going on here? Is it part of our nature? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a necessity? Is it a luxury? What is it bad? Is it good? I want to know. So this idea of having a controversy, like one person says something, the other person says the opposite, is not, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So somebody is making, let's say, a study. Okay, in academia, people make research and they have a study. So let's say somebody is going to make a study, and I'm going to take an example that is really old so that you're going to see how good it is. The study shows that smoking cigarette is good for you. Yes, they had studies that showed cigarette is good for you. That's why they always had a doctor getting relaxed with his smoking cigarettes. A doctor. There were pictures as doctors, and that's what the people were told. The studies shows it makes your life better. And so now, because the complexity of the cigarette manufacturers, they had a lot of power, so it took a long time to take that off. That it's healthy for you. But if you look in academia, you have a study, somebody says this is healthy for you, okay? Or we found out about one intervention that is useful, beneficial. The next thing you know, and now because things are going so fast with the internet, it takes about 2 years to have someone, because it takes a while to put together a good study, a scientific study, and 2 years later, it's gone. There's another study that says the opposite. And actually, people looking, what are they going to put up for study? They have to do a thesis, they have to do research. What are they going to do? So it's very easy. They go and look at the studies that have been made, and they're just going to prove the opposite. And that becomes a regular thing to do. So this disagreeing, it becomes part of, the scientific world. And I'm wondering, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. So let's take a look here. The unique and infinite source of everything is one. It's a one. I don't know if you can call it entity or the unity. The unity is one. The creation comes along because of a one power. Now, this one power, very interestingly, created things that are not one. They're always diverse. They're always different. And the first thing that happened, if you look at Genesis, at the very beginning of everything, let's not get into complicated things. Let's get into plain and simple. There's the earth and the heavens. There's the atmosphere, there's the earth. It's two things separated. From the very, very beginning, the first letter of the Torah is Bet, it's a duality world. And we have this duality, and we have a tendency to think one is good and one is bad. One thing is good and one thing is bad. We have always these two tendencies. In Judaism, we don't say this is a bad man or this is a good man. We say this is someone who follows his good inclination. It's a tendency. It's not he is good or he's bad. He has a choice and he follows whatever he is going. So there is in this tendency also, in other words, there is a quality to it, a direction, I should say, a direction of going towards the good or towards the bad. And when I say good or bad, it doesn't mean good and bad. It means that are you aligned with the purpose that for what you're created for? That's good. You go away from it, or you step out of it, or you go against it. That's called bad. So it's different. You know, we're not gonna make it so simple, good and bad, but there is a direction. There is also an intensity. So I'm going to give you an example. Somebody is say, I'm going to paint, I'm going to choose, and I want you to paint this room green and blue. Okay. So you can, once you say that, you think to yourself, green and blue, that's what it is. Now, you can have a painter come and make a very soft blue, soft, washed out sky blue pastel colors of blue and green. Or you can have very intense, bright apple green and whatever, you know, sapphire blue, whatever, right? So the intensity, the quality is the same. It's the same color, but the intensity is completely different. So you can have people that, irrelevant of their tendency and direction, their intensity and their degree is very different. So you have somebody who is in his nature intense, in his nature has very high level of intensity. If he goes in one direction, he'll go very strong in that direction. If he goes in the other direction, he'll also go very strong in that direction. So you can have people that are the worst possible people that you can think. When they turn around, they change direction. They become the best. And actually, they become extraordinarily good. Mitch Albom has a book called Have a Little Faith, and I really like that book. And he described the life of a person who started on the way from childhood in the street, gangs, drugs, killing, shooting, jail, incarceration, everything you want. And this guy, he turns around, he becomes the best person. He creates a church where everybody's welcome, and he creates something that is so purely good where everybody's accepted and everybody's welcome. And it's a complete turnaround. The intensity is the same, the direction is different, right? By the way, I want to say this man had a very nice wife. She stayed with him, and I want to give her credit. When somebody is in jail and you wait for them and you raise the child and everything, amazing. So I'm going to give you another example. Rabbi Akiva was a Talmudic sage many, many centuries ago, who was very mad and upset at people who were knowledgeable. He said, if I can put my hand on someone, I'm going to tear him apart with my teeth. And he was so mad at these people. They had something he didn't have. By the way, in parentheses, I just want to say, when somebody is jealous, it means that they really want to have it. They could have it, but they didn't go there to get it, just like in brackets. But anyway, so he was ignoramus. He was a shepherd. He didn't know anything. He didn't know how to read. He didn't know nothing. And there's this woman, this incredible woman, Rachel, who saw the potential. And she married him. And bit by bit, she convinced him to go and learn. He became one of the greatest sages of his time, of all times, actually, of all times. So he also married well. You see, there's always the woman behind. So I want to say that this incredibly idealistic woman saw a potential and turned him around. At the age of 40, he started to go and learn from scratch. And this, so this man, once he was aligned Once he was aligned with his purpose in life, he didn't have that anger anymore. And actually, we see him a lot of time. He's laughing. He's laughing a lot. He's laughing at this woman who looked at him. He's laughing when he sees something very sad. He laughs a lot. There's no more of that upsetness that, used to, take hold of him. Whenever people have opposite idea and opposite opinion, it's part of what we are. Where does this come from? As human beings, we have it. It's in our society, it's in our nature. Like I was giving you the example, even if I didn't want to, I ended up doing it. When did this all start? It started with the separation that happened when the world was created. In other words, it's not something that we're creating for ourselves. It's part of the world. So at the very beginning, there was a separation. This separation, division, all created all this atmosphere that we know that we have the earth, and we have the earth, and we have the water, and we have everything that is separated. Even like men was one, got separated into one man, one, they were androgynous, like back to back, then they got separated. What is this thing that is happening now? Is it good or is it not good? Korach, he started this discussion. He said, we're all equal. He came and he said, look, you guys are taking all the powerful position and there's no reason for it anymore. Difference, huh? Anymore. In other words, before we had a time where Moses was the prophet, he was the one that gave over the whole law. The clarity of Moses' prophecy level was unparalleled. His sister didn't understand that, Miriam, and she said, what? Why should he behave like this? We're also prophets, like we're all prophets. That's what started it. Then you have this thing with the spies. They're also starting saying things like, holding on to a power, holding on to some kind of position that they have in the desert that they wouldn't have when they get into the land. When the nation was on Mount Sinai, the law was given, and Moses' prophecy was extremely, extremely clear. At some point, when Korach comes and he says, look, why are you doing this? We don't need a chief. We don't need a leader. We're all good. Let's have a democracy. And Moses didn't know what to tell him. And even more so, Aaron, which is the position that Korach really wanted to get, Aaron, the high priest, didn't say anything because he felt like Korach is better than he is. That's what Nachmanides says, and he brings the Zohar that says Aaron did not react because he thought Korach is better than he is. He was an intelligent man. He was knowledgeable. He had science. He was very rich. Now, apparently, the people that are rich, they're not stupid at all. They're very clever and they're very intelligent. But he was not humble, okay. But he was an exceptional person and he had a high ambition. Now, when he comes and he sees that Moses sent spies to the land. Why do you send spies to a land? If you have this prophetic vision that is so clear, why do you need to go and take a look at it? With your vision, you're going to figure things out. You don't need to send someone to figure it out and walk on the other place. You have it all already figured out because your prophetic vision is amazing. And so Korach saw that if Moses sent people to spy the land, to check it out, I would say not to spy, but to check it out, it means that the clarity of his vision is already going down. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's in the mind of Korach, that's what's going on. That's the beginning. That's the beginning of the questioning. That's the beginning of the questioning. And now there is a definite change when the law was given on Mount Sinai. It was given on everything, on everything. Now, I want to take an example, but it's not. It's to make you understand. There is codes of law that have the laws. That's for the civil code, the criminal code, whatever it is. But now you have, for every profession, every profession has a code of ethics. So code of ethics for realtor, code of ethics for psychologist, code of ethics for school counselor, code of ethics for whatever you mean, whatever you want. Why do you need a code of ethics? Because the law is the law, and the law is going to be interpreted. And in order to interpret the law, you need to know the spirit of the law. And the spirit of the law very often is in the ethics. But why do we need the code of ethics? Because in the law, you can't find everything. You can't find a code of law that says every single thing that's going to happen to a person, now you're going to have it in the law. You can't. You have to interpret the law, you have to analyze, you have to figure it out, and then apply it. So these things that are happening, all of the ethics, all the laws, everything included, Moses knew it. But he couldn't give it over. This too much. So he gave the law, and then it comes to the people to interpret the law and actually discuss it. He also gave 13 principles for analyzing and interpreting the law. So now what we have is, instead of having one law, you have something that is fractured, because every interpretation is going to be coming from a different perspective. And this fragmentation, it's not always bad, because like, if you think about the light, if it doesn't go through the prism, you don't see all the different colors. So you do want to see these different things, but at the same time, you need to keep a certain unity. This is what happened with Korach. He said, look, everybody has their piece. Everybody is an entity in itself, and everybody is important, and we're all equal in there. A machloket, it means chelek, it means a piece. As long as you have the pieces, as long as you have different pieces, it expands, it makes it better sometimes, because like when you have a law and you interpret the law for all the different situations that could come up, it's a good thing. On the other hand, it doesn't show unity. The Jose of Lublin says that Korach, what he really wanted, it's like a dream of a society where everybody is equal, and it's been dreamed for a lot of centuries that everybody would be equal. But the problem is, where does it come for the people to want to be equal? Again, to have different parts is a good thing. To have separated part is a good thing, because then when they come in front of each other and discuss it, like when you're arguing about a law, or you arguing about, you have a debate, it clarifies things. That's what people want, the debates, because it makes it clear. If you have two people in front of each other and they're arguing their point, they're expressing their own viewpoint, they're listening to the other person, and then at the end, everybody is clearer about things, it's a good debate. But if you have a kind of discussion where each one is in there to make their point, to suppress and to destroy the other person, it's not beneficial. It's not going towards unity. I'm going to give you an example. People want to feel equal, right? I remember when I was in school, the teacher was in the front near the blackboard, and students were in lines, in rows or whatever, and going all the way from the front to the back. Now, if you were in the front, you felt good. If you were in the back, you felt a little bit rejected. Okay? And that was how it was. Because if you have something that you like, you want to be close to it. And you feel like the people that are closer to it, they are in a position that is more advantageous than you are if you're in the back. Let's say now you have a different situation. You're in camp, and the camp counselor says, make a circle, and he puts himself in the middle. Now, when you have this radius that is equal between him and every camper, it gives more equality to everybody. To have this idea where people are equal, they have the same reach to what they want to achieve, it's a beautiful idea. And that's the idea that Korach was selling to people. Let's all be equal. And it's very tempting. And like I said, it's an utopia that has been going on for a long time. But the problem is when people have tried to do this and implement this, why are they doing it? Are they really doing it for the people, or are they doing it for their own power? Are they doing it because they want to suppress the masses and control them, or because they want to give them power? Look, the communist regime killed more people than any war in the world. So and it's their own people. It's not even an enemy from outside. So when they do this, and you see that because in communist regime, like the higher you go in the party ranks, the more privileges you have. So where's the equality? The equality is gone. It's just like people are feeding the masses with this utopia of being all equal. And now we all see, and it's transparent, seeing in China, in Russia, and everywhere, that this, like, I remember one lady was talking to her, and she said to me, you know what? The factory where her husband worked made a building, and this building was built for the workers of the factory. So they made this new building that was really nice. Everybody had like 2 or 3 bedroom even, which is like was a great thing to have in the days in USSR. And she said the people that got the apartments were all the top people. Nobody from the regular workers got an apartment. But they tell you we're going to build a building for the workers. But who gets to be in that building? Only the top guys. So this idea of making it everybody equal, it comes from a point of view of we're going to be equal and my ego is not there. It could be great. I haven't seen it happen. So it's like an idea people are selling to the other ones. So the idea that Korach had was, it was very idealistic. He was ready to be understood by some, but it was not ready to be put in action by the general people. He comes with such a good idea. Why do we need to have one leader and bigger than the rest of us? We're all equal. Why, if we have one book, what do we have now? A little piece of that book on our door. Why do we have to have, let's be all the same. And it sounded so good. It was so appealing that all the judicial power of the nation went with him and followed him. So what was his mistake? His mistake was that even though his ideas were great, his ego got in the middle. How did his ego get in the middle? he saw, because he was a very learned man and also had some kind of some level of prophecy, he saw that he is the same as Moses and Aaron put together. He's as great as both of them together. So I mean, that's kind of the prophecy that he had. He saw it and he said, yes, so why not? In other words, and the truth is he was not that wrong about it, because later on King David said that Prophet Samuel was as great as Moses and Aaron put together, and that Prophet Samuel was a descendant of Korach. So it's not that he saw completely wrong, but he saw it a few generations later, not himself, but something about him. And that something about him was not him himself, it was his descendant, Shmuel. So what got into the midst of this beautiful idealism that he had was his ego. And once his ego got involved, then instead of having a discussion, where we're having a discussion and everybody is there face to face to clarify, to end up in a more united version of us, he ended up in a more divisive version of us. And how do we know it was bad? I mean, unless you think that it's a good idea to have your whole family and housing and furniture and everything that you own swallowed into a sinkhole, unless you think that's a good idea, but that's what happened to him. He really had a bad end. And the reason why he had a bad end is because he had a bad beginning. In other words, go this way. And the truth is that at the very beginning, his ego was already inside. So when he's publicizing and he's doing his political thing of telling everybody how great it's going to be, the idea was a good idea. It was beautiful. Sounded great. The problem is his ego was involved. It was the wrong time for him to do such a thing. And again, the intention, the goal for this discussion that he provoked, and this big, revolt, that's what it was, a revolt. It came from his inner desire to take the place of Moses and Aaron, to take the place of the leaders. And when you come and you say, okay, look, we have different parts and all the parts are there and we're all equal, that's wonderful, right? But when you come and you say, look, I am saying this and I'm going to take over your portion, I'm going to take over your piece. No good. Everybody has their place under the sun. Why do you want to take over someone else's place? But that's what inside of him, that's what happened. Now on the outside, the political speech and all the ideas and all that cleverness, that the big talk, that was sounded very different. So again, just want to go back about this idea of division and this idea of separation and discussion and argumentation and all this. If the beginning of it, the essence of that discussion is to get to a better place of unification, it's good to have an argument. It's good to have an argument. It's good to have a dispute. It's good to have, even if you want to have a fight. If you're doing it for the purpose of unifying, it's good. If you're doing it for the purpose of, I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to show you, I'm going to take your place, I'm going to say something and I'm going to cancel you, then it's bad. Everybody has the place. Everybody is different. Diversity is a good thing. there is as many minds as faces, and every face is different. We all have a thumbprint that is different. I'm always amazed at the diversity of people thinking. It is absolutely something that it always amazes me, leaves me speechless. How many people there are and how many different ways of thinking and imagining and thinking. It's just like amazing. But everybody has their place. Just because I think differently doesn't mean that I'm taking over what you're thinking. So there was diversity, separation, division is a good thing. Is a good thing and is a necessary thing. We have men and we have women. We have the earth and we have the sky. We have north and we have south. We need these things. But the thing that is not good is when people have this discussion in order to take over the other person and in order to take their place and cancel them. The big weapon that people use is their ego. The ego is in the middle. If in the discussion people are open, then they're understanding each other, they can communicate, they can repeat what the other person say, they can see someone else's viewpoint, that's a good argument. That's a good division. But if, like Korach, who made this mistake, either it's the wrong time or it comes from the wrong inner, the beginning of it, the seed of it was a divisive for the purpose of division. It was not divisive for the purpose of clarifying. It was divide for the person, I'm taking over. I'm as great as Moses and Aaron. I'm going to take over. It says so, I saw it. It was the wrong time. And the way that he explained to people that everybody is equal with, at the same time, wanting to take power, that was his problem. So I want to end up with saying something interesting that I saw, that why is it that we read, I mean, I don't do it, but in the Siddur has the Ketoret in the morning, the sacrifices that are read in the morning. Why is that? Because this is one of the very few chapters where there is no machloket, no discussion. Everybody agrees. So this is one of the rare, precious places where everybody agrees on something. So that's why we say it every morning. So I just want to bless everyone with a good discussion, a good argument, a good disagreement if you want, but always for the purpose of bringing peace and for the purpose of getting more united.